This is Kimberly Quinn, host of the Mindcraft podcast, and I can't tell you how much fun I have had doing this podcast. I started when the world closed over the pandemic in an attempt to spread some positivity out there and give people some strategies to enhance their own well-being and reduce anxiety and all of that. Now, 2 years later, we're still going strong and now listened to by 52 countries across the world. And I've even helped some of my students get going with their own podcasts. It's super easy to do. And I'll tell you, if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it is the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. I'll just explain for you. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It is a ball. Start today. Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another Minecraft discussion here on this glorious day, at least in northern Vermont. Wow, the leaves are all doing their thing, all different reds and oranges and yellows and just everything, and it's just so pretty. So anyway, my name is Kimberly Quinn, and I'm thrilled, I forget if I said that or not, I'm thrilled to have this discussion today with you on a sense of purpose. You know, and that can also often sound cheesy and cliche, and really without a sense of, well, meaning also, but we're going to talk today about purpose. Without a sense of meaning and purpose, it's a straight road to depression, or at the very least, sadness. And I'll tell you that I'm reading this book loaned to me by my colleague, Tom Myers. So I'm doing a workshop with my friend/colleague Tom on spirituality, meaning, and purpose at Champlain College with, where I teach, obviously, with our students. And so far it's going pretty well. And one of the books that Tom and I, one of several we read over the summer to prepare for this and research and, kind of have our act together so that this workshop series would be, great. One of these books is called The Power of Meaning by Emily Safani Smith. And Emily talks about purpose in there. And so I actually honestly didn't even intend to do this podcast today. And then I got immersed in her book and it just kind of hit me. And so I said, oh, while it's fresh in my head, let's just roll with it. And so Emily talks about in her book that she, purpose just sounding big. We tend to think Peace Corps and, holding a government office and, being in some sort of big, huge leadership position, maybe outside, maybe in the corporate world or making maybe like in a nonprofit, making a big difference in that way. And those are all certainly good, obviously. But Emily says that really, she said, here's what Emily says. Purpose sounds big. Ending world hunger big, or eliminating nuclear weapons big. And then she says, but it doesn't have to be. You can also find purpose in being a good parent to your children, creating a more cheerful environment at your office, or making a giraffe's life more pleasant. I love that because I think we do tend to think having a sense of purpose, and I know this is part of Minecraft and in the course that I teach at Champlain, and it's about half to 2/3 of the way, maybe halfway through the semester, where we really dig into, students' sense of meaning and purpose. And often they think that it's something huge. Well, how can I have that? How can I have a sense of meaning and purpose? Here they are, mostly 18, some 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds. And then occasionally a non-traditional student actually adds to this a lot, typically, because if I have a non-traditional, then that student often has things to say from being out in the world, maybe having a child or whatever. But the young adults I have generally tend to think it's this, I don't know, maybe not out of reach, but something that lands in your lap in your 50s or something. They often don't think that we can walk around every single day, sucking the marrow out of life, gaining meaning from every single thing we do, bringing success to every single thing we do, and finding purpose in the smallest of tasks. And Emily continues with her book. She says, according to William Damon, a developmental psychologist at Stanford, purpose has two important dimensions. First, purpose is a stable and far reaching goal. Most of our goals are mundane and immediate, like getting to work on time, going to the gym, or doing the dishes. Purpose, by contrast, is a goal toward which we are always working. It is the forward pointing arrow that motivates our behavior and serves as the organizing principle of our lives. I love that. Actually, I think it was at that minute when I decided to do a podcast. When the forward pointing arrow, part of that sentence is what just grabbed me. Honestly, just grabbed me and captivated me. And it said podcast. And interestingly, when I was walking early this morning in the woods with Giovanni, we came across a young hunter, because it's bow season here in Vermont, and it's kind of wild because I had this visuals, maybe that connected, and my friend Tom would talk about synchronicity, like none of it's an accident. And he was a wonderful young man, and he said, "Oh, I was worried about Giovanni." He said, "Oh, I wouldn't be too worried, not till rifle season, but it would be worth putting on, a vest, which we will do tomorrow." But the point is, I got a good look at his satchel full of arrows. And I kind of took in the, I don't know what they're made out of anymore. I know when I think of being a little kid and going to archery camp, they kind of looked like feathers at the end, but it must be made out of something different. But the way they're sort of aerodynamically shaped is obviously so that very thin pointed arrow will reach the target. And so when I'm thinking of purpose, and then when I was reading that particular paragraph of Emily's book on the power of meaning, I thought, what a total visual for finding your sense of purpose and the guy. It's like just this aerodynamic compass for landing where we're supposed to be. And then Emily says, second, purpose involves a contribution to the world. Oh, I love that. It is, Damon writes with his colleagues, a part of one's personal search for meaning. But it also has an external component, the desire to make a difference in the world, to contribute to matters larger than the self. That could mean advancing human rights or working close to the achievement gap in education, but it works on a smaller level too. Teens who help their families with tasks like cleaning, cooking, and caring for siblings, for example, also feel a greater sense of purpose. And I love that. And just sticking with the teenagers and the young adults, a lot of the reason my friend Tom and I decided to do this whole workshop with the young adults is we both strongly agree that this is missing, for most of them. Tom is currently retired from Champlain. He was there for I don't even know how long, but we've both had the experience. He didn't retire that long ago, so he's still pretty fresh with the young adult population, and the whole spirituality, meaning, and purpose, and how they're all connected, and how we are all wired. We are wired for spirituality. We are wired to find meaning in what we do, and we are wired to find our own sense of purpose, which is already in there. There's something that each and every one of us were put on this earth to do, something specific. So that's a big authentic path thing. Then on the smaller end, when Emily talks about daily tasks, this matters. I mean, if you've ever watched a little 3-year-old try to help her dad, it's his turn to do the dishes or whatever, and they're putting away. They pull the dishwasher thing out, and she's trying to figure out where the forks go and trying to match and watch him, and the spoons go here and the forks go there. And typically, I've definitely experienced this with our 5 fabulous young adults when they were younger. It's 1 step forward, 3 back, when a toddler's trying to help you do something. But it's so necessary for their young selves to feel important, to feel that they're needed, to feel that they're helping. And obviously they're also learning at an insane rate because they're little sponges on they're taking it all in and learning pro-social behavior and learning organization and learning all that stuff. But they need to feel needed. And you watch them have a huge smile on their face when a teenager helps grandma carrying the birthday cake, where she obviously has the big grip on it, and the toddlers got probably a couple fingers in the icing, honestly. But they feel so incredibly proud of themselves to be a part of bringing that cake in while they're singing to the family member. And it's just so necessary. And on the flip side of that, we've got the toddlers, right? And at the, sort of winter of our lives, the end of the winter season of our lives, when many seasoned, no, beyond, well, seasoned, definitely seasoned, like a good wine, right? And kind of crossing over into elderly and maybe needing assistance and having cognitive challenges and things like that. Many geriatric, people in the geriatric, stage, being elderly, slide into depression. That's a huge issue right now, and not enough clinicians. Well, actually, there aren't enough clinicians in general, no matter who we're talking about. But there's geriatric depression is a big, big, big issue. And think about it. This is largely due to the fact that they no longer feel needed. There's no longer a reason to get up in the morning for many of them. And I'm thinking of a facility that my best friend from St. Mike's, her mom is in, and I went to visit her every week for quite a while. And what a awesome group of people. I mean, I don't know, they're angels. They're absolutely angels. So I mean, this wasn't even their fault. They had all kinds of activities, and every little thing they celebrated. St. Patrick's Day, Groundhog's Day, it constantly crafts and all these kinds of things. And so God bless them. They're just a wonderful group. But that still has a sense of purpose. That's entertaining. That's keeping people busy. That's maybe engaging with their artistic side a little bit. But it's not the same thing as people needing you. And we all need to be needed on some level, and to feel a part of the universal connection, which is all there. They're just not tapped into anymore at that time. And this is, in my opinion, why so many elderly adults sink into a huge depression and then often give up. And so Emily continues to say, she says, people who have such a purpose believe that their lives are more meaningful and more satisfying. They're more resilient, I love that word, and motivated, and they have the drive to muddle through the good and the bad of life in order to accomplish their goals. People who fail to find purpose in their daily activities, however, tend to drift through life aimlessly. Let's just say it again. People who fail to find purpose in their daily activities, however, tend to drift through life aimlessly. And I tell you, Tom and I have definitely seen this with young adults. Obviously, it's not everybody, though it is certainly noticeable. Let's just put it that way, noticeable. And then Emily says, when Damon looked closely at emerging adults, 12 to 22 years old, in a major study conducted with his colleagues between 2003 and 2007, he found that only 20% of them had a fully developed pro-social purpose that they were actively working toward. Purposeful youth are motivated at school, get better grades, and are less likely to engage in risky behaviors like drug use. Think about that. We've been talking about in previous episodes about, spirituality, the work of Lisa Miller and the Awakened Brain. Spirituality being an 80% protective, shield against depression. And now we're talking about, this sense of purpose. And he said, okay, but 8 out of 10 of the young people Damon studied did not have a clear sense of where their lives were going. Many of them had made some progress towards setting long-term goals, but they did not know how they would pursue those goals or whether their aspirations were personally meaningful to them. A quarter of the emerging adults were disengaged, expressing virtually no purpose. Okay, so that study is 15, around 15 years old at this point. Very valuable, obviously, and I would have to guess. I would definitely have to, educated guess, because the educated part is because I see it every day, is that it's got to be much, much worse now because, and I work with a lovely, lovely group of young adults. They're wonderful and they're chatty. And I have to tell you, they are so ecstatic to be back after the whole coronavirus thing. They're positive and they're into it and they're chatting. And so when we get to the meaning, purpose, passion part, they really do kind of look at me with kind of glazed over eyes, briefly actually, until we really dig in. We really do. So I have several activities that sort of support the Happiness Advantage book by Sean Aker that we use in Minecraft. And it's amazing once we do some of these sort of self-awareness activities that involve passion, meaning, and purpose, with their major, with studying, with their calling, what that might be. It's amazing how they come alive. What it takes is a little bit of guidance and some um, directed directed discussion. And it's amazing how when they've got a little bit of direction, how they can just soar. And even if they don't land on exactly something, they are well on their way. And I can't even tell you how rewarding it is to watch them come into their own. It's just not something you would ever find in a paycheck, that's for sure. Just watch them, see, wow. So I actually do something with them with the first couple of activities. And after that activity, I do something which is very related to what we're talking about. And it has to do with job versus career versus calling, which I've already done an episode on that. So we don't need to go through all that. Just quickly, a job is for the most part about making money. We all need money, so we're not saying that that's bad. So that's pretty much what a job's about. A career has more to do with education or training, meaning trade, meaning all inclusive. It might be the military, it might be the trades, it might be whatever. Um, it's some kind of something that's an investment in what you're doing later, right? And then a calling is one step further, and these can often be a series on the way to calling, right? Is what you're put on this earth to do. This is when you're passion driven, you're loaded with meaning, loaded with purpose. If it were possible to do it for free, you would, that sort of thing. And when they do this activity that I have, that's about we sort of brainstorm what a job description is about. And I have them do it. I said, what do you, when you're looking for jobs, what does it say? And they'll say cashier needed, flexible time needed for weekends and nights. Think of their age group, right? Minimum wage, usually they said, and then they laughed. And then we kind of twisted it around, and I said, okay, now what we're going to do is I'm going to have you write a calling description. And they kind of look at me for a little dazed for a second until we get clear on it. I said, even what your majors are and what you might do, I don't right now, that isn't important. That'll be important next week and later in your life. But in this moment, right now, this present moment, I'm not concerned with what you want to do. In fact, I want you to leave it blank. I don't care what you plan to do at this moment, because I want you to leave it blank. I want to know what boxes have got to be checked for you to love. I mean, love going to your professional place of employment every day, for the most part. Every is a big word. You can have something bad happen, but the high majority of the time where you love getting up and going, and you love driving home and thinking about it. So then it starts to really roll out of them. Sometimes I have to guide them a little bit, because you can tell we've got to make a difference people that want to be out there in the, doing things humanitarian. We've got the artists that are big freedom people, that they've got to have that artistic freedom or they'll shrivel up and die. We've got to have my leaders, and then my entrepreneurs also fall under the entrepreneurs fall into the artsy freedom category. The leaders want to make a difference in management. They want to be that lighthouse guiding somebody through the storms, in the employment world, and make a difference by bringing that positivity into the workplace. Is somebody in a position of power who can actually use it wisely and make a difference in someone's world. And I typically leave from that particular class I do every year like on a cloud. I'm driving home in the Jeep going, oh my God, these young adults are incredible. They're absolutely incredible, because they start to get at least a taste of what their own purpose is. And you watch the levity in their faces. You watch them, start scratching down and being so happy and excited to share their own calling description with their classmates, and they all listen to each other. And it's amazing. So in this particular episode, we're talking about, the power of purpose. I just wanted to share that with you, because just witnessing it, it's just what you just watch their whole demeanor change. And so here's the big point. Purpose is essential for well-being. If it's a toddler putting forks and spoons away in the dishwasher with their dad, or if it's a teenager mowing a lawn, or if it's, volunteering and helping reading to an older person, or how, like, the Boy Scouts do the whole Eagle Scout thing and do something great for the community, make a playground in the center of town or whatever, all the way to the Peace Corps, or doing something wildly transcendent, like in Maslow's hierarchy, where somebody's doing something for civil rights on a huge, huge level, or finding your purpose in a classroom. All of it is part of the big picture because we need purpose like we need to breathe oxygen. Okay, that's it. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off. See how excited I got? Lost my words there for a sec. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful northern Vermont. Have a purposeful day.